Welcome to my studio. I'm an artist. My name's Leonard Koscianski. This is where I work. This is where I work every day. This is where I paint my pictures. And I'd like to talk about one of the paintings that I did a few years ago called The Skater. It's a painting based on a memory of growing up in Cleveland, Ohio. Actually, I grew up in a suburb of Cleveland called Parma. And in Parma, it was row after row of small houses. And scattered throughout Parma were a few lakes and ponds. And we lived on one of those lakes. This is the house I grew up in. In the background, in the backyard, is the lake. And in Cleveland, in the wintertime, it would get cold enough for the lake to freeze, and we'd go skating. We'd shovel off the snow, and we'd skate and play hockey for months. It was a lot of fun. Now, later in life, I'm sitting in my studio working in my sketchbook and thinking about this, and I developed this idea of the skater on a pond surrounded by suburban homes. I especially liked skating at night, under the moon, under a full moon, by myself. Pretty much there was never anybody out there at night, surrounded by all these homes. So it was very secure because I was surrounded by civilization. But at the same time, I was out in nature and felt wild and free skating along the ice. This was my first drawing, my first attempt. And we have a skater on the ice, on a pond, surrounded by these suburban homes. I did another drawing that I thought expressed the energy I was trying to capture. And this drawing is very much a gesture drawing. It's brief, it's energetic. Then I thought, well, perhaps if I remove the houses and have it just be out in the woods, maybe that would be good. But I liked the contrast between nature and civilization. I liked having those houses contrasted with the naturalness of the pond. So I continue with that idea. And in this drawing, the skater is out on the pond at night, surrounded by the houses. We can see lights on in the houses, bare trees. I think it's an interesting composition, and I may actually do a painting of this in the future, but this wasn't what I wanted to do just then. I did another drawing, and I developed the foreground houses a little bit more, and the idea was becoming a bit more well-developed, but still it wasn't quite right. And so at a certain point, I just said, oh, what the heck? Just start painting. And because I couldn't really come up with a drawing that was completely expressive of what I wanted, so I started painting. And this is about halfway. Here we see the skater out in the middle of the pond. It's more illuminated, it's a lot brighter in the foreground, darker in the background. But the houses in the middle ground create a barrier that we can't go past. It's almost like the background becomes superfluous. So I said, well, oh gee, I just became very frustrated. And I was almost ready to give up. So I decided to perform major surgery on this painting. I got rid of the houses on the right side of the composition. I extended the lake into the background. And then I brightened up the houses in the back. I put a car, street light, began to put some trees in, finished the skater. Now, at this point, I know this is going to sound like sort of crazy arty talk, but at this point, the painting's starting to talk to me as much as I'm talking to it, and it's suggesting how it wants to be finished. So this is the finished painting. There's the full moon rising, the trees with snow on the branches, maybe illuminated homes, people seen in those windows. In the foreground, we have this young woman, half naked, looking out her window. It's almost like she's a captive, but she's in a nice warm house because she's half naked in the middle of winter. But it's almost like she's expressing a desire to be free. On the left, we see a dog sleeping. The dog, does it represent animal energy that's asleep? In the middle ground, we have this young man dressed for the winter, out skating, but he's all alone. Is he looking for someone? Is he hoping that someone will join him? Is he hoping that that young woman who's in the house will come out and skate with him? In the background are the homes, the suburban homes of civilization. And when we look in the windows, we can see that there are people in those windows. Now, when I was young, if you would walk around Parma, Ohio at night, you'd see those houses lit up on the inside, and you'd see people inside doing different things. Now, there seems to be a sexual tension between the young man and the woman, the half-naked woman. And when we get up close, we can see that she's almost like a prisoner. And who's holding her prisoner? Well, if we look down at that window below, we can see there's an older man there. Is that her father? Does he know what happens when young men and young women get together? Well, they start to kiss. And when we look in the windows in the background, we can see a couple through one of the windows, and they're kissing. And in another window, maybe it's the same couple, we see a couple, and they're arguing. And their argument, the emotional tenor of their argument, is symbolized by those brittle, sharp branches that are in front of them. This is an oil painting. Oil paint is a very physical medium. And how do you paint snow? Well, the way I did it was I first put a fairly heavy layer of white paint down. And I put it down with a bristle brush. And I just sort of dabbed it on to create a rough texture. Then, when that was dry, I glazed thin layers of blue and blue-green over the top of that to create the form of the snow bank. Also, I had to feather those brush strokes between the snowbank and the ice. And I grew up with that. I know what that looks like. And so it was a real challenge for me to do it the way I know it's supposed to look. This is the finished painting. About 40 by 30 inches, a surrealist painting. And when it was done, I had to let it dry and then varnish it and then frame it. Now, because I'm a professional artist, it's important for me that this painting go out into the world to fulfill its purpose, to enrich the lives of others. And the first step in that journey is for me to send it to a serious art gallery. But before I did that, I posted a picture of it online, and I immediately was contacted by a very serious art gallery that offered to purchase the painting outright. So of course I said yes. And this gallery is the Stremmel Gallery in Reno, Nevada, one of the nicest galleries in the country. From the outside, it looks like a little Whitney museum. Now on the inside, we see an exhibition, and in this exhibition are in the foreground is a sculpture by one of my graduate school colleagues, Deborah Butterfield, and in the back, on the wall, over on the left, is a painting by Roy DeForest, one of my graduate school professors. So, thank you for watching this video about why and how I created the skater. And please, if you wouldn't mind, subscribe, like, and share this video.